The slap echoed through the narrow kitchen like a thunderclap, my cheek burning as if branded by fire. I tasted blood, sharp and metallic, where my lips split against my teeth. Frank's ring had caught me just right, leaving a gash that would scar. He stood there, chest heaving, his mechanic's hands still clenched into fists, grease stains like war paint under his nails. "Sign the goddamn papers." "Emily," he growled, his voice low and venomous, the kind that slithered into your bones. My mother, Linda, sat at the Formica table, her coffee mug trembling in her grip, eyes fixed on the chipped linoleum floor. She didn't move, didn't say a word. Just nothing. I was 25, still crashing in their rundown bungalow in the suburbs of Sacramento, California, because rent in the city was a joke and my entry-level tech support job at Valley Networks barely covered my student loans. I'd been pulling graveyard shifts for 2 years, staring at screens until my eyes blurred, fixing glitches for faceless corporations. It kept the lights on, paid my share of the bills. But this was different. The papers scattered on the table were for a home equity line of credit, with my name typed neatly as co-borrower. Frank wanted to upgrade the garage tools, he said, but I knew better. His side gigs always smelled off, cars coming and going at odd hours, cash envelopes tucked into drawers. "I'm not signing," I said again, my voice steady despite the throb in my face. I wiped the blood from my lip with the back of my hand, staring him down. At 5'4", I had to crane my neck, but I wouldn't back away. Not this time. Frank's face twisted, that familiar mix of rage and entitlement. He'd married my mom when I was 15, after Dad left us high and dry. At first, he was the hero, stable job at a local auto shop, promises of a better life. But the cracks showed fast, the missing money from my piggy bank, the open mail with my name on it, the accidental dents in my old Honda that he'd fix for a price. Mom always smoothed it over. He's stressed. "Honey, work's tough. But tonight," with the loan docs glaring up at me, something snapped. This is my credit on the line. Frank, my future. He lunged forward, grabbing my wrist hard enough to bruise. "Your future? Under my roof? You owe me." I yanked free, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. Mom finally whispered, "Emily, just sign it. For peace." Peace. As if we'd ever had that. I grabbed my keys from the hook, my vision blurring with unshed tears. "I'm out." Frank blocked the door for a second, his breath hot and sour with beer. "You'll crawl back." I shoved past him, the screen door slamming like a final punctuation. In my car, the engine rumbling to life. I sat there in the driveway under the flickering streetlight. The bungalow looked smaller somehow, shadowed and sad. My phone buzzed, Mom, probably begging me to come inside. I ignored it. Instead, I dialed my brother, Alex. We hadn't talked much since he moved to Oakland for his engineering job, but he was the only one who got it. It's late. Everything okay?" His voice was groggy but concerned. "Can I stay with you? Just for tonight." There was a pause. Then, "Get over here. Now." The drive was 40 minutes of winding highways, the Sacramento skyline fading in my rearview. My cheeks swelled, pulsing with each heartbeat. By the time I pulled into Alex's apartment complex, neat rows of stucco buildings with actual security lights, I could barely see out of one eye. He opened the door in sweats, his face hardening as he took in the damage. "Frank." It wasn't a question. I nodded, stepping inside. His place was sparse but clean, a leather couch, a coffee table stacked with tech magazines, the faint smell of takeout pizza. "Sit," he ordered, grabbing an ice pack from the freezer. as he pressed it gently to my face. I spilled it all, the loan papers, the slap. Mom's silence. We need photos, Alex said. All business. He was 3 years older. The one who'd escaped first. Seeing Frank's toxicity before it poisoned everything. He snapped pics with his phone. The bruise blooming purple. The split lip. Even the timestamp from his wall clock. This is assault.
Eminência.
We go to the cops. I hesitated. The ice numbing my skin but not the ache inside. It'll blow up the family. What family? The one where he hits you and she watches. His words hit harder than Frank's fist. We ended up at the ER that night. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. The nurse documented everything. Her face sympathetic but professional. You pressing charges? I nodded, surprising myself. By dawn, we had a police report, a restraining order form, and a promise from the officer that they'd investigate. Back at Alex's, exhaustion crashed over me like a wave. But as I crashed on his couch, my phone dinged with an email. Spam. I thought. But the subject line froze me. Your loan application update. It was from a credit union I'd never used. Opening it, my stomach dropped. Application processed. Co-applicant, Emily Carter. Address, the bungalow. Date, 2 weeks ago. Alex, I whispered, shaking him awake. He's already using my name. We pulled up my credit report on his laptop. The screen glowing in the dim room. Hard inquiries everywhere, loans, credit cards, all denied. But the damage was done. My score tanked. And there, buried in the details, signatures that looked like mine, but weren't. The loops were off. The slant too perfect.
Forged.
Rage simmered. Slow and building. Frank hadn't just hit me. He'd been stealing pieces of me for months. We need more, Alex said. Proof. I thought of the old laptop Frank had tossed last year. The one I'd salvaged for parts and stashed in Alex's storage unit. I might have something. We drove there at first light, digging through boxes until we found it. Back home. I booted it up with my tech tools, data recovery software humming as files populated. No wipe. Just laziness. Emails.
Photos.
Spreadsheets.
And then
the gold mine. Messages about quick fixes for cars. Guaranteed passes on inspections. Frank wasn't just a mechanic. He was running a scam, faking smog checks, swapping parts, bribing testers. The environmental fraud stared back at us in black and white. Altered vents. Phony certificates. Cash logs. This is big, Alex murmured. Federal big. The pieces connected, the extra cash. The late nights. Mom's blind eye. She'd known. Maybe even helped. As the sun rose, casting long shadows across the room, I felt the damming of emotions, hurt, betrayal, ready to burst. This wasn't just about a slap anymore. It was about dismantling the monster who'd poisoned our lives. The bank teller's face paled as she scrolled through my account history, her manicured nails clicking on the keyboard. We were at Sacramento Federal Credit Union. Mid-morning rush hour buzzing around us, people depositing checks, kids fidgeting in line. I'd called in sick to work, my bruised face hidden under makeup that did little to conceal the swelling. Alex sat beside me, arms crossed, his engineer brain already mapping out the fraud like a circuit board. MS. Carter, the teller, her name tag read Sarah, whispered, "These applications. They're not from you?" I shook my head, sliding over the police report. Forged. All of them. She called her manager, a stern woman named MS. Rivera, who ushered us into a glass-walled office. "We've flagged 3 inquiries in your name over 6 months," Rivera explained, pulling up scans. The signatures mocked me. close enough to fool a quick glance. But the ink looked digital, edges pixelated. He copied from an old lease, I said, remembering the apartment agreement I'd signed when Mom and Frank first shacked up. Pasted it in. Rivera's eyes narrowed. This is identity theft. We'll cooperate with police. But you should freeze your credit now. As she printed statements, Alex leaned in. Check the loan purposes. Vehicles.
Tools.
All tied to Frank's garage business. Leaving the bank with a folder thick as a novel, we headed to the county clerk's office downtown. The building was a maze of echoing halls and fluorescent hum, clerks shuffling papers like dealers in a casino. We requested public records, anything with my name. It took hours, but we hit pay dirt. More loan apps. All denied. All mailed to the bungalow. Mom intercepted them. I muttered. Printing copies. The clerk, an older guy with a handlebar mustache, overheard. If it's fraud like this, check civil suits. Mechanics get hit with emission stuff all the time.
He was right.
Frank was defendant in 4 cases, buyers claiming faked smog tests, cars failing post-sale inspections, complaints detailed altered exhaust systems, bribed stations. He's not just screwing me, I said to Alex in the car. Evidence piled on the dash. He's screwing everyone. The smog scam tied it all together. California's strict emissions laws meant big money for cheats. Frank's texts from the old laptop mentioned clean cats, catalytic converters, swapped from donor cars, VIN tampering, payoffs to testers at places like Valley Auto Check. We need hard proof, Alex said. Something admissible. Back at his apartment, I dove deeper into the laptop's recovered data. Browser history showed searches for emissions defeat devices, forums on evading testers, a hidden folder, photos of parts, serial numbers scratched off, customer lists with payments, $500 here, $700 there, dozens a month. The betrayal burned hotter now. A slow fuse igniting. Mom had to know. The mail came to her house. The cash funded her treats, new clothes, dinners out, while I scraped by on ramen and overtime. That night, as Alex cooked pasta, my phone rang, unknown number. I answered, heart racing. Emily? It's Mom. Her voice quivered. Come home. Frank, sorry. We can fix this. Fix? He forged my life away. Silence. Then. He needs the money for the business. For us.
Us.
Not me. Goodbye, Mom. I blocked her. Alex set plates down. What's next? I stared at the laptop screen. A map of Frank's empire glowing. We take it to the authorities. But first, more evidence. I remembered Frank's old phone, another discard I'd grabbed, thinking it'd be useful for parts. It was in my bag from the bungalow. Connecting it via USB, I ran recovery. Jackpot. Texts. Voicemails. Need a pass on 05 Tacoma. Bad 02 sensor. Frank. Bring it Friday. $600. Go to Valley Station. Ask for Rico. Photos of tampered exhausts. Fake certificates. Even a video. Frank under a car. Welding a clean pipe. This is racketeering, Alex said. EPA territory. We printed everything, organized into binders. But doubt crept in, the emotional weight pressing. What if they didn't believe me? A bruised girl versus a hardworking mechanic. The next day, we walked into the Sacramento Police Department, the lobby smelling of coffee and desperation. Detective Harlan, a grizzled vet with a coffee stain on his tie, took our statement. Assault straightforward, he said, eyeing my fading bruise. But this fraud, emissions? That's DMV and EPA. He made calls, and by afternoon, We met Agent Kira Voss from the EPA's Criminal Division. Sharp suit. Sharper eyes. Your data matches an ongoing investigation, she said in a conference room. Smog fraud rings in the Central Valley. Frank Bartlett's name popped up. My pulse quickened. He's the hub. Voss nodded. We need insider proof. Willing to help. The plan formed slow. Tension building like storm clouds. I'd pose as a customer. Wired up. While they monitored. But first, reconnaissance. That evening, I drove by Frank's shop, Bartlett Auto. A squat building off the freeway. Bays full of lifts and tools. Cars waited. Old sedans. Trucks belching smoke. Frank was there. Laughing with the tech. Oblivious. Watching him. The damning emotions swelled. Years of swallowed pride. Mom's choices. This wasn't revenge, it was reclamation. As night fell, stars pricking the sky, I whispered to myself, he's going down. The fuse burned brighter. The explosion inching closer. The wire felt cold against my skin. Taped under my shirt like a secret. Agent Voss adjusted it in the EPA van parked 2 blocks from Valley Auto Check. The testing station Frank's techs pinpointed as corrupt. It was a Wednesday afternoon. Sacramento heat shimmering off the asphalt. Exhaust fumes thick in the air. Test the mic, Voss said. Her voice calm but edged. I spoke. Testing. 1, 2. Clear feedback from the speakers. Beside her, Detective Harlan nodded. Remember, get him to admit the swap. Mention the cash. My beater car, a loaned EPA clunker with a faulty catalytic converter, idled outside. It should fail any legit test. I pulled into the station. Heart hammering. The bay was busy, techs in jumpsuits. Machines humming. Frank wasn't there. But Rico, the name from the texts, waved me in.
Bite.
Tattooed arms. A smirk that said he knew the game. What we got, he asked. Clipboard in hand. Smog check. Friend said you could. Help if it doesn't pass. I slipped him Frank's name. His eyes lit. Bartlett sent you? Yeah. We can work it. He popped the hood, pretending to inspect. Converter shot. Normally.
Fail.
But for $550. I nodded, palming the marked bills. Guarantee. He grinned. Always. As he tested, swapping in a clean part from a back room, serial mismatched, I narrated softly for the wire. He's replacing the converter now. VIN plate 2. Voss's voice in my earpiece. Good. Push for details. How do you fake the readings? I asked casually.
Rico laughed.
Machines hacked. Frank's code. Clean data every time.
Bingo.
The certificate printed. Pass. I drove out. Evidence captured. Back in the van. Voss high-fived me.
Solid.
But we need Frank on tape. The net tightened. That night, at Alex's, I paced the living room, adrenaline fading into exhaustion. The bruise on my cheek had yellowed. A reminder fading but not forgotten. Mom texted from a new number. Please.
Eminencia.
Talk to me. I deleted it. Alex brewed coffee. You're brave. You know. Or stupid. But deep down,
the slow build of resolve felt right.
Frank had stolen more than money. He'd eroded trust. Turned family into a battlefield.
Now.
We'd strike back. Phase 2. The sting at Frank's garage. Voss set it up, 2 undercovers posing as customers. Me observing from a surveillance car across the street. Friday evening. Golden hour casting long shadows. Frank's shop buzzed. Lifts whining. Tools clanging. First undercover. Mike. Rolled in with a diesel truck spewing black smoke. Needed to pass smog. Heard you fix them right. Frank emerged. Wiping hands on a rag.
Depends.
What's it worth? Mike. $700? Frank nodded, leading him to a side bay. They jacked it up, Frank pulling a loaner exhaust from a locked cabinet. This baby's from a low-miler. Swap. Tweak the ECU. Done. Mike. And the test. My guy at Valley handles it. The wire caught it all. Admissions. Process. Second undercover. Sarah. Arrived in a sedan. Same dance. Negotiation.
Swap.
Promises. But then. Complication. Mom's minivan pulled up. Her face pale as she spotted the unusual activity. She approached Frank, whispering urgently. Something's off. He brushed her off. Go home. Linda. But she lingered, eyes darting. In the surveillance car, Harlan tensed. If she warns him, she didn't. Just watched. Complicit as ever. The swap's complete. Certificates forged on-site with a portable printer. All units. Move, Voss commanded. Chaos erupted. Cops swarmed from unmarked vehicles. Badges flashing. Police. Hands up. Frank bolted for the back door. But Harlan tackled him. Cuffs clicking. Rico and another tech surrendered. Faces ashen. What the hell? Frank roared. Face down on concrete. I stepped out, approaching slow. His eyes widened. You, spit flecked his lips. Little bitch set me up? You set yourself up, I said, voice even. Voss flashed her EPA badge. Frank Bartlett. You're under arrest for Clean Air Act violations. Fraud. Identity theft. They read rights as text-bagged computers. Parts. Files. Mom rushed over, tears streaming. Emily. How could you? How could I? He hit me. Stole from me. And you let him. She crumpled. He was providing. Voss interrupted. Ma'am. We'll need your statement. Male fraud involvement. Mom paled, calling for a lawyer. As they loaded Frank into a cruiser, he glared. This ain't over.
But it was.
The garage. His kingdom. Dismantled. Evidence markers dotted the floor. Tampered parts. Fake docs. The emotional dam broke then. Tears hot on my cheeks. Not for loss, but release. Years of tension exploding into freedom. The federal courthouse in downtown Sacramento loomed like a monolith. Glass and steel reflecting the morning sun. 3 months post-raid. And the air still carried that crisp bite of justice unfolding. I testified in prelims. Voice steady as I detailed the forgeries. The assault. The smog ring.
Now. Plea day.
Alex squeezed my hand in the witness room. You've got this. Agent Voss entered, tablet in hand. Frank's folding. Guilty on all counts. Relief washed over me. But the build-up, the slow unraveling, demanded closure. In court, Frank stood shackled. Orange jumpsuit a far cry from his grease-stained overalls. The judge, a no-nonsense woman with silver hair, recited charges, 32 counts of wire fraud, 21 identity thefts, 58 environmental violations, assault. Plea? His lawyer. Guilty. Your Honor. The prosecutor detailed the scope, over 500 rigged vehicles, excess emissions harming air quality, health costs in the millions. Mr. Bartlett profited while poisoning communities. Frank's allocution was curt. I did it for money. No remorse. My turn for victim impact. Standing at the podium, I faced him. Frank didn't just bruise my face. He fractured our family. Forging my name wasn't theft, it was erasure. And the smog fraud? You let poison into our lungs for cash. Every fake pass was a lie to the world. My voice rose, emotions surging. But truth wins. Your empire's dust. The courtroom hung silent. Judge. Powerful words.
Yes. Carter.
Sentencing loomed. 15 years minimum.
Outside.
Media swarmed. How's it feel? A reporter asked. Like breathing clean air. Voss pulled me aside. Your laptop data cracked the network. 2 more rings down. Pride swelled. But so did questions. Mom's plea. Accessory. Probation. She'd moved to her sister's in Fresno. Letters begging forgiveness unanswered. Was blood thicker than betrayal? Life rebuilt slow. New apartment in Oakland. Near Alex. Promotion at work, senior tech. Day shifts. Credit restored. Scars fading. But nights. I'd dream of the garage. Exhaust choking me. Waking. I'd remind. I fought back. The explosion had cleared the smoke. 6 months later, the final hearing sealed it. Frank got 17 years. Restitution $300,000. Mom's home confinement ended. She faded from my life. I visited the impounded garage one last time. Chain-link fence. Weeds claiming concrete. A symbol. Empire's fall. Voss called. Case inspired new EPA protocols. My actions rippled. Cleaner air. Fewer victims. But the true residue? Questions. Could Mom have stopped it? Was Frank always a monster? Or made one? Justice served. Yet the human cost lingered. In quiet moments, I'd touch my faded scar, wondering if forgiveness was possible, or if some betrayals demand distance.
Truth.
Like emissions, can't be faked forever. It emerges, demands reckoning, and in that, perhaps, lies the real freedom.